You arrive at the coffee shop 20 minutes before your friend. You knew you would. You always do. You sit down, order water, check your phone, look at the door, and wait. And somewhere in the back of your mind, there's a quiet voice that says, "You'd rather sit here alone for 20 minutes than risk being the one who walks in last." You show up to job interviews so early that you have to loop around the block twice. You get to airports with hours to spare. You're the first one in the waiting room at the dentist, the first one parked outside the venue, the first one ready, always. And people call it punctuality. They call it being responsible, organized, reliable. But you know the truth. It's not about being on time. It's about what happens inside your body when you're not. This isn't a flaw. This isn't something broken in you. This is your nervous system doing exactly what it learned to do, keeping you safe in a world that once felt unpredictable. And if you've ever wondered why you can't seem to stop doing this, even when you know it's unnecessary, even when no one would care if you arrived 5 minutes later, this is why. Let's start with control. When you arrive early, you get to see the room before anyone else does. You get to choose where to sit. You get to observe the space, settle into it, let your body adjust. By the time everyone else shows up, you're already grounded, already anchored. You've had time to breathe, to prepare, to regulate. This matters more than most people realize. For someone whose early environment felt chaotic, emotionally, logistically, or both, arriving early is a way of restoring order. It's not about being better than others. It's about feeling safe before the interaction even begins. You give yourself a buffer, a margin, a small pocket of stillness before the storm of social performance starts. And when you don't have that buffer, something shifts. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts race. You feel behind before anything has even happened. Not because you're late, but because you've lost that invisible window of emotional preparation you've come to rely on. This is what control looks like when you've learned not to trust the world to give it to you. There's another layer here, and it goes deeper than logistics. People who arrive early are often people who internalized somewhere along the way that their presence is a burden, that taking up space requires permission, that being on time is the minimum, and the minimum is never quite enough. So you overcorrect. You show up early not because you're excited, but because you're afraid of what it means if you don't. Afraid of being seen as careless, unreliable, inconsiderate. Afraid of the look on someone's face when you walk in and they've already been waiting. You've taught yourself that the safest version of you is the one who never inconveniences anyone. And arriving early is how you make sure of that. This often traces back to childhood. Maybe there was a parent who was unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, sometimes absent entirely. Maybe there was a caregiver who made you feel like your needs were too much. Maybe there was a moment, or many moments, where you learned that the best way to stay safe was to stay small. And so now, decades later, you still show up 20 minutes early to brunch with a friend who loves you and would never judge you for being 5 minutes late, because your brain doesn't know the difference. It only knows the pattern. But here's the part nobody tells you. Arriving early isn't just about fear. It's also about identity. You've built a version of yourself around this trait. The dependable one. The one people can count on. The one who never lets anyone down. And that identity feels safe. It feels earned. It feels like proof that you're doing something right in a world that often feels like it's grading you. Letting go of that, even slightly, can feel like losing a part of who you are. What would it mean to be someone who shows up just on time? What would it mean to not be the first one there? For some people, that's a small adjustment. For you, it might feel like standing on the edge of something unfamiliar, like you're betraying a version of yourself you've spent years constructing. So you keep arriving early, not because you have to, but because it's become part of how you understand yourself. There's also something quieter happening here, something that has to do with anticipation. For a lot of early arrivers, the waiting is not wasted time. It's preparation time. It's the space where your brain runs simulations. What will they say? How will I respond? What if this happens? What if that does? You rehearse. You plan. You mentally organize the conversation before it even starts. This is your nervous system trying to reduce surprise, trying to make the unknown feel known, trying to protect you from the discomfort of being caught off guard. And it works until it doesn't, until the rehearsal becomes exhausting, until you realize you've spent more time preparing for the moment than actually living in it. But even then, you can't stop. Because the alternative, walking into a situation cold, unanchored, unprepared, feels worse. As you get older, this behavior often shifts in texture. In your 20s, arriving early might feel like discipline. In your 30s, it starts to feel like instinct. By your 40s, you may not even question it anymore. It's just who you are. The early one, the reliable one, the one who's always already there. But beneath the surface, the function stays the same. You're still creating safety, still giving yourself time to settle, still protecting yourself from the vulnerability of being the one who arrives last, seen by everyone, with no time to adjust. The behavior doesn't disappear as you age. It just becomes invisible. It blends into your personality so seamlessly that even you forget it was ever a strategy. And maybe that's okay. Because here's what this behavior really is, underneath everything. It's a form of self-care, a quiet, invisible one, a way of regulating your emotions before they have a chance to spike, a way of giving yourself something steady in a world that often refuses to be. Arriving early is your anchor, your ritual, your way of saying, I don't trust what's coming, but I trust myself to be ready for it. And that's not weakness. That's not dysfunction. That's a mind that learned long ago how to survive, and never quite unlearned it. You don't need to fix this. You don't need to train yourself to arrive later, to cut it closer, to be more spontaneous. You don't need to override a system that has spent your entire life trying to protect you. What you might need, if anything, is to see it clearly. To understand that the early arrival isn't just habit. It's history, it's emotion, it's identity. It's your nervous system whispering, let me get there first. Let me feel safe. Let me have a moment before the world starts asking things of me. And when you understand that, something softens. Not the behavior, but your relationship to it. You stop calling yourself anxious. You stop calling yourself obsessive. You stop wondering what's wrong with you. And instead, you sit in that coffee shop 20 minutes early, water in hand, watching the door. And you let yourself be exactly what you've always been. Someone who learned to show up before the world could catch them off guard. Someone who found safety in the in-between. Someone who, in their own quiet way, has been taking care of themselves all along.